Started to get a little toasty out here. Had to roll these sleeves up a little bit. Anyway, so at the end of my vegan diet, I wrote down what I experienced. And it was a lot, guys. So anyways, here we go. And again, I'm giving you guys this because it's very necessary that we realize what's going on when our body is going through changes. Let me just say this. I did not know enough. I did not know enough. I did not supplement as a vegan. And the reason why I did not supplement, number one, I wasn't about to pay all that money for supplements when I should be able to get everything I need from a vegan diet. That is why I did not supplement. And I literally said to myself, if I have to supplement on a vegan diet, I will no longer be vegan. Simple. That's stupid to me. There's no reason that you need to be supplementing on a vegan diet if it's actually a diet that is sufficient, okay? So I did not supplement. And to be real with you, most people only supplement with like vitamin D and B12 and other things, but they don't really know all of the vitamins and minerals they need to supplement with because they don't even know all the vitamin and minerals they're not getting. You know, people can't say, oh, well, I supplement and that's why I have problems. However, we don't know every single thing, okay? So to say that you're supplementing with vitamin D and B12, okay, how much are you missing? You know what I mean? How many vitamins and minerals are you missing that you're not aware of? So I didn't concern myself with that. And I was more than willing to take the consequences of not having it because I needed to see for myself. I'm that kind of person. I need to see for myself. I don't want to believe what you're saying. Unless you have some good facts, all right? And you're really saying something that I can really agree with. Towards the last year and a half of veganism, I noticed, the first thing I started to notice was that my cycle was starting to just be sporadic. I mean, you know, I go to the brow girl, shout out to Janita, because she had me right every time. I go to the brow girl and I get a bikini wax and I get my eyebrows done and everything. And I started to notice that I could not book her the way I wanted to because my period would just be like playing hide and seek with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I might come in the first of the month, I might come in the middle. Oops, came at the end. Like, you know, like just starting to do stuff like that. And so I was just kind of like, whoa, that's weird. It just still did not click in my head, you know? It's just something I notated, but it didn't click like, oh, you know, something could be going on. And so that was one thing that I noticed. That was like one of the first things that I noticed. The second thing I noticed was that my digestion. I was eating something called snow pea tips, all right? I started eating snow pea tips from this Chinese restaurant. A friend of mine put me onto them. And I remember, like, I would eat those snow pea tips and I was like, oh man, this is so good, while I'm making videos about how nutritious it is. And then when I went to the restroom, it was like I was a cow. Like, it just came straight out. And I'm not talking about like processed food. It looked like I chewed the greens and spit it out through my ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was not a good look. It was not cool. And I'm also making this video too because those of us with darker melanation, you know, man, you guys, like, it doesn't look as bad as it does with our European brothers and sisters. It doesn't look as bad initially. You know, that melanin is really holding us together. It's the glue that's holding us together, seriously. And I'm not even playing on that. You know, however, anyways, my digestion, I was pooping out whole foods. I started to eat amaranth and it would just come straight out. I mean, not broken up, not a chewed particle in sight. It was just bam, right there, coming straight out, you know? And I was just like, what? I tried blending it, I tried sprouting it, it didn't work. I just pooped it right out. So that was something that I was like, that's weird, you know? So my digestion was the first thing that went. And you're going to the bathroom all the time, just diarrhea, and when you are having bowel movements that are more whole, it's undigested food coming out. I mean, I would have a salad and see lettuce in the stool. And I remember, actually, when I think back on it now, when I was being introduced to veganism through, others who had been vegan for like a decade or so, at that time, I was eating vegan food at restaurants and stuff, and I noticed that oil was coming out in my stool. And I had to stop eating at that vegan restaurant because, and Life Grocery, because I noticed that, I was pooping out oil, and I never did that before. And I was newly vegan at that time, and I was just like, man, something that's weird. And I was, looking on Google, and Google like, you dying, you got cancer, you know what I'm saying? So I was just like, okay, I'm not Googling this no more. We're just gonna see. I'm not gonna go to that restaurant anymore and eat that food. Not that the chef was a poor chef or anything like that, because the chef was a good friend of mine at that time. I just figured, I'm not going to eat the food anymore because it's causing me to have oil in my stool. And sure enough, when I stopped going to the restaurant, I no longer had oil in my stool. So at that time, so that was like, okay, well, maybe it was just the restaurant, and I just never tied it into being vegan. The next thing was, obviously, I lost weight, and I never could keep that weight. I mean, like I said, the lowest that I got was like 100 pounds. And I mean, I was like a stick figure, and it was just weird. I just felt so terrible. I didn't feel like a woman. You know what I mean? I felt like, that was another thing. I felt like a little girl on a vegan diet. I felt like a young girl on a vegan diet. Mind you, I am 29, and I was 20, in my 20s at the time. However, I didn't feel like I was developing into my womanhood. I felt like I was regressing into my girlhood, and that was just weird. Towards the end of veganism, I felt like a young boy, okay? I felt like my face just got so hard. And let me just finish reading this and we'll get to that part. So anyway, I lost weight, couldn't keep it on. My hair started thinning. And that was really the thing that made me start to realize that this was not working for me. It was my hair was thinning. Anyways, and I'll get to that, how I had the epiphany. I'll get to that. I'm just purposing to list off all the symptoms and everything that I had and I experienced. My eyes became more stressed. I started to get big veins in my eyes. And my eyes just started to, my left eye started to get so lazy. Like, I was really like this in my photos. Now my left eye is slightly a little bit smaller than the right one, okay? However, I'm talking about like down, like, looked like I was winking. So it was just terrible. I noticed that my teeth became very sensitive. I was eating an apple and I bit that apple and it felt like somebody had scratched their nails on a chalkboard inside of my body, and I was just like, like, what is that? And I said, I'm done with apples, or I'm just not gonna bite them. I'll just chew them. And I just started noticing that when I would chew things, my teeth just started to hurt, and it felt like they were gonna fall out my head and fall out my mouth. And I started to have dreams about my teeth falling out. And I would be like, oh well, when you Google that, it says that, oh, you're experiencing a loss, you're letting go, all this kind of stuff. However, that's not the case when you're nutrient deficient, you know what I mean? So my teeth became so sensitive, and my first two teeth are already crowns because I fell in second or third grade on pure concrete in PE because I was racing this girl named Jasmine Mann on a scooter who flipped me over. Anyways, cheaters never win, just remember that. Anyways, so I fell and chipped my tooth. So these front two teeth are crowns, which I'm thankful for because they might have, not saying they might have fallen out or chipped, because I would be drinking and it was like my nerves would just fail me in the middle of drinking something, and because I would drink from glass, it would just boom, like hit my teeth and just bow. And I remember I would hit them hard sometimes, to a point where I would be like, oh my gosh, did I just chip my tooth? But I didn't, so thankfully. And so anyways, because my teeth became sensitive, I just stopped eating so normally. I would just chew very lightly, like, it was just crazy. I also noticed that my teeth were starting to grow closer together. Like, the bottom row of my teeth started to push up to where the middle would start to go up more. And I would be like, man, that's weird, because I do videos and I take pictures, so I would notice those things in my videos, and I would just be like, man, why does it look like my teeth is just starting to like throw up gang signs in my videos, like, anyways, that was one. I also noticed that my tongue was starting to get like more like these ridges on it on the sides, and it was because my jawline was just coming in. I have a normal round head, okay? Very round head. My whole life I've been told how big my head is, okay? They had to slice my mom just a little bit just to get my head out. I'm telling you, that is how big my head is, okay? My head was starting to shrink, all right? And I noticed it. My head was starting to shrink. My jawline was starting to shrink in, and I thought it was a good thing, you guys. I thought it was a good thing. Why? Yo no sé, pero I thought it was a good thing, because it kind of gave me like this, look. And I was just like, oh, that looks good, and my jawline starting to go in and become a lot more, what is it? Just decrease. I don't know. It just started to sink in a lot more. And it wasn't as, broad as it normally is. Not that I have like, jaws. However, I was just like, man, like, this is ridiculous. How is it that my jawline is, going in, and then my teeth is starting to crowd? So it just all made sense to me, like, when I started to realize what was going on, So anyway, my skin lost moisture and fat. I was losing collagen in my skin, and I have a picture of my before and afters. I have a video of my before and afters on a vegan diet and, not being vegan. My skin, I've always had great skin. Even before I was vegan, I always had great skin. So when I went vegan, the last years of it, it started to just like cave, and my jaws were no longer as like full as they were. They started to just sink in, like, like skeleton sink in, and it was just like my skin was just hanging from my face. I started to notice that right here my temples started to like, what is it, like form in or something, and it was like a line going through the middle of my head, like a ridge in my skull, but it was like you could see it. I could look in the mirror and see the indentation of my skull. You know what I mean? It was like I was losing fat, seriously. I remember feeling like somebody sucked fat from my skull or from my brain. I felt that it was like and I remember being like, what was that? And just feeling my head and being like, that was not good. I don't know what that was, but it wasn't good. I still didn't tie it to being vegan though. And I didn't look into it. I was just like, I don't know what that was, but So, yeah, so I lost a lot of moisture in my face. I lost a lot of fat in my face. My collagen was leaving. I noticed that it felt like I could feel my eyelids on, like, I remember having the thought of being like, why does it feel like I can feel my eyelids like they're drooping down? Still didn't think it was the veganism. Anyways, my joints started to hurt. Like, towards the last week of being vegan, it felt like I was an 80-year-old woman. My joint, I started to feel so dry, and it was just like, at any point in time, I remember feeling like my metatarsals, my feet, the bones of my feet, like they just was like, like they didn't want to move. They didn't want to do anything. They just, they wanted to just chill, and I remember being like, I just remember having the thought to myself, like, don't do too much because you're going to hurt yourself. Thankfully, I listened to myself. and I didn't do too much because I practiced functional patterns. And with practicing functional patterns, you know, you're studying biomechanics and you're studying tissues and you're studying like fascia and how the collagen and the hydration in your body must be present, you know. So you're studying these things, and I don't have that no pain, no gain mentality. So I didn't push through it, anything. I just said, you know what, I need to chill. Let me just give attention to my body. So that's what I did. And so I just started walking. I couldn't run anymore because I didn't want to hurt myself. So I started just walking, you know. However, I did notice that I was just starting to dry out. I just felt really, really dry. It didn't matter how much oil I put on my skin. It didn't matter if I went outside. My skin did not pump back like it usually did. And it was just so dry. I mean, I would moisturize my face, and I could not exfoliate my face with a soft rag every day because I would start to break out because my skin was just so irritated from me just washing my face, you know. And I wasn't scrubbing it hard every day. It was a very gentle, you know, circular, supposedly massage, and I couldn't even do that because my face would break out and it would just get so irritated and raw and just hurt. It's terrible. My lips, ay Dios mío, like my lips, dry. They were starting to turn gray. You know, it looked like somebody got a crayon and just gris color them gray, you know. And I just did not understand. I was just like, what is going on? Still didn't think it was veganism. My head felt heavy. I would wake up, I sleep on my back, or on my side, you know, with a pillow, and I would wake up and it was like my head was just like, doom, like I just could not move it. And I know I have a big head, however, I've always had a thick neck to support that head, you know what I mean? So noticing my neck started to get super thin. I mean, like thin, and I've always had a thick neck. So for me to see a small, to a point where other people say you got a thick neck, you know what I mean? So my neck started to get very thin and my head started to get very heavy. And I just remember waking up in the morning like, dang, that was hard to just pull my head up, you know. And still didn't think it was my diet. Heart palpitations, oh my goodness. This one was probably, you know, the one that really got to me the most emotionally. You know, I'm even kind of feeling it now because I don't have a history of heart issues in my family. My dad did pass from a heart attack. He went through cardiac arrest. However, he was very weak and sick during that time. So it was just one of those things that just happened. It wasn't, you know, like he had a history of it in my family. That's not what happened. However, I just remember how much I used to feel my heart and how I used to hear it just boom, 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 like knocking against my chest, skipping beats, you know. And sometimes I would have such crazy chest pains. This is before COVID-19, okay? So I'm saying that because of the chest pains, okay? It was like I could not breathe sometimes. I had to really stop sometimes and just allow myself to take a break. You know what I mean? I would go to sleep hearing my heart knocking against my chest. You know what I'm saying? Still didn't think it was a diet. Anyways, extreme fatigue and dazing. The will to live is so strong. I remember one time I was walking up my driveway and I literally would just almost fainted. I was just walking and just, it was like, you know how you see like those little stars kind of shoot through your face when you're dehydrated? You know, I saw that, and I had to just take a minute, and I took my shoes off and I put my feet in the ground, and I was just like, I just need to ground for a second because something is not right. And this was towards the end of veganism, you know. I just knew something was wrong. However, my will to live was so strong, and I don't really trust hospitals like that, so I did not want to go to the hospital. So I just literally, you know, at this point was just like, what do I need to do? And it just came to me, put your feet in the ground and just chill for a second. And so I would put my feet in the ground and started, you know, I just started to chill, and that would help. And it would take me maybe like a good 5 to 10 minutes, and then I could get back up again and go about my day, you know. Still didn't think it was a diet. What happened was, and now it is, my blood sugar started to get crazy. Like, I remember shaking like this because I didn't eat. And it was like, you know, it was like I just ate. However, I'm shaking like this because my blood sugar was starting to get so unstable, you know. And at this time I wasn't eating much but fruit in the morning, and I didn't have anything that would like carry me over long term. It would just be fruit, and then I would have, you know, like my meals around like 12 or 1 o'clock, and that's when I would eat bigger meals, you know. And I didn't fast, guys. I ate food, you know. When the only time I didn't really eat a lot of food was when I was going through those up and down periods where I just couldn't digest it, you know. And this is my next thing, always bloated. I would eat and just feel like my stomach was just going to just jump off my body. Like my stomach literally would just like pop, 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 and like spasm. You could see it just you know, like tap dancing inside, you know. And I would be like, what is that? I just ate, you know. And it was just bloating. I couldn't handle the fiber anymore. I couldn't handle the food anymore. I could not do it. It was not working for me. And I still didn't know what it was. I still didn't know. My sex drive, my libido was so low. Okay? Like so low. And I wasn't interested in sex anymore. I just, you know, it was just like I would get spurts, but it would just be like I don't need it anymore, you know. And so, and this is coming from not being like that at all, being the total opposite, you know, not unbalanced, you know, just having a healthy sex drive, okay, as a young woman, you know. Like, you should not be thinking about not having sex anymore when you're in your 20s, okay? But that's what it was. Dry patches on my skin, on my body. It was like I started to get breakouts on my skin. Never had that before. I've always had wonderful, beautiful skin, always. But I started to get dry patches like here. Started to get dry patches on my knees, on my legs. I started to get dry patches in my scalp. The dandruff was so bad. It was so bad. Like, so bad. I started to get, it looked like psoriasis, or I don't know what the other word for it is, but it was just like patches of dry, like all over my head. My edges started to break out. That was another thing. Hair loss. My edges, they kind of grew back in a little bit now. However, like right here, gone. Like you can still see it here, and that's just because I have it in the Bantu knot. So, you know. However, here, no. Here, no. In the back of my head, nada. It was gone. Okay, like gone. Whew. Let's see what else. My sleep. I started not to sleep well, and I've never had an issue sleeping. I've always been a wonderful, great sleeper. I never had problems going to sleep. You know, I'm not that person that takes 20 minutes. 2 minutes, I'm out, you know. However, this time I couldn't sleep. I started staying up all night. I would stay up till about maybe 2 or 3 o'clock, to a point where I would just get so exhausted, my body would just make me go to sleep, you know. And that was the only way I could go to sleep. Always hungry. It was insatiable. I mean, I used to brag about, oh, you know, I can eat bowls and bowls of food. I could eat plates and plates of food. And, you know, now that I'm vegan, you know, I used to brag about it, not knowing that it just meant I was starving on the inside, you know. However, I was starving and I would just eat so much. I would literally eat a big plate of food, and then 20-30 minutes later I'd be snacking on something else because I just was not satiated. And I would just, my body would just be like, you need something to eat, you need something to eat. I developed such a poor relationship with food being vegan because it was just I was always eating. I was always eating. And it didn't matter how much water I drank. It didn't matter how much hot water I drank, how much warm water I drank. You know, I was just always hungry, like always hungry. I mean, just always. I cannot describe how I was always hungry. And it's interesting, and I'm not gonna call any names, but a lot of people that I know that I ate with, several people that I would eat with, I noticed that they would be eating 20 to 30 minutes after they ate as well. Something I noticed. Hair falling out. I've mentioned it a few times in the video. This time, I'm gonna tell you, my hair falling out was the straw that broke the camel's back, okay? It was a straw that broke the camel's back. Hair loss. My hair is probably the one thing that I would have to admit in the past I was very vain about, because it's so long and it was so thick and beautiful and lustrous. A week and a half prior to ending my vegan fast, I felt so bad. I could barely get out the bed in the mornings. I had no motivation. I didn't want to do anything. I literally had to become so time sensitive, in a sense of where I had to really prioritize my time, because after 12 o'clock, I didn't feel like doing anything. And I would just sleep all day. One day I was looking in the mirror and I literally looked at myself and was like, but I really looked in the mirror, and myself to myself was like, girl, you dying. Like, it's funny now, but it's not funny. Like, I literally was saying to myself, you're dying, you know? And I remember saying that. I was just so frail. I train ninjutsu, and specifically Toshindo. And I remember, like, you know, training, you know, we don't spar, however, just training and being like, man, I feel so frail. I feel so small. I've never felt like this before. Not even when I was young. I've always felt robust. I've always felt strong. I've always felt, you know, like I could just do whatever and I have energy for everything. And I just no longer felt that way anymore. It was just like my body just caved in on itself, you know? And I looked in the mirror after I said, you know, I'm dying. I was just like, I literally was like, something is wrong. I'm dying, you know? And it was time for me to deep condition my hair that day. So I went to the shower. I was, you know, I was deep conditioning my hair, and I literally felt my skull through my, like, I remember being like, how can I feel my skull? This is crazy. Like, I should not be able to feel my skull, you know? And the indentions in my head, like, I shouldn't be able to feel that. What's going on? My hair felt like I had 3 strands of hair, you know? And so I got out of the shower, dried my hair, and my intuition told me, take a picture of the back of your head. Take a picture of the back of your head. And I was like, all right. I grabbed that phone. Mis amores. I took a picture of the back of my head. Whew. I showed you guys. There's a picture of it in the video that I showed. When I saw the missing pieces, and I saw my hair gone, I was like, oh, hell no. I don't care what needs to happen at this point. We cannot do this anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. So immediately I'm like, okay, what's going on? You know, it's Inspector Gadget time at this point. I'm thinking, okay, boom, okay. And now I'm reenacting exactly what I did. I'm like, okay, I know that hair is connected to the digestive system. Okay, so hair is connected to the digestive system. My digestion must not be on. So I'm like, okay, I go on Google and I type in digestion. I'm like, nah, that wouldn't really help because it's not specific enough for me to be able to pinpoint. Then I'm like, okay, vegan hair loss. So I went to YouTube and typed in vegan hair loss. Mind you, prior to that, I watched videos about how to reverse disease, you know, and veganism was suggested. I never went on YouTube and went how to be vegan. I never did that, you know, so that was not anything. So I went to YouTube this time and typed in vegan hair loss and saw this woman talking about how she now takes B12 because she was deficient and now her hair is starting to grow back in, which it kind of did, but not really. And I was looking at it and I was like, oh, okay, B12. And I looked over at that suggested videos. Okay? I looked over there and I saw ex-vegan. And then I saw hair loss and I said, oh boy. Mira, I gotta click it. I clicked it and I started to watch the videos and I started to listen to what people were saying, and my mouth, la boca, was on the floor, okay? Because it was exactly what I was going through to the T. Nothing was missing, nothing was exaggerated, nada. Like, it was everything that they experienced, I experienced. From the hair loss, the teeth sensitivity, the skin issues, the digestive issues, the sleep problems, the missing periods. Because at that time, my period had left 2 months. It left me 2 months. Packed the bags and left me, okay? 2 months. So when I was looking and I listened to all of that, it was an epiphany that, it just, boom, hit me. And I was sitting there like, oh my gosh. And I accepted it right away. There was no denial. There was no, I didn't want it to be true, you know, as far as like the vegan thing. However, because it took my edges, and yes, it gave me other issues that were more severe. However, you know, vanity sometimes, it helps you. It helps you. Because it took my edges, y'all, and it thinned my hair out significantly, I was like, oh my gosh, it's veganism. I just knew it. I felt it. You know how when you just hear something and you're just like, see, that right there. You know, so that's what it was. And because of that, after that, I went down the rabbit hole that is ex-vegan, you know, and I just started to listen to everybody because I was like, you know what? This is one person. I can't just assume that because we have the same issues in common that this is what it is. Anyway, I can't just assume that just because this person and I have the same issues that it's veganism. I can't just do that. I don't want to just throw it under the bus like that. I needed more evidence, you know? You have to establish a thing with witnesses. So I did, with about 20 videos. I watched so many ex-vegan videos, you know, and I just thought that it was amazing that we all experience. I don't know these people, you guys. I don't even know them, but we all experience the same thing. And it took me about maybe 2 or 3 days before I actually, you know, broke my vegan fast, because I was just accumulating data at that point. And I was just like, man, what's going on? What is it about veganism? And so I was just gathering data and information. And I came to the conclusion that it was veganism. And at that point, I was so desperate for something different, to just see if I would feel better, because I didn't have any energy. I mean, I was hanging on by a prayer, literally, you know? And I remember I had a dream about eating eggs, and I had a dream about eating deer. And my brother just harvested some deer that he killed himself, you know? And I was like, this is all syncing up for me at this point in time, you know? And he sent me some deer, you know? So I was just like, well, he brought me some deer when he came up from Florida. And I was just like, there is no coincidence on this one, you know? So anyways, after I realized it was veganism, I broke my vegan fast. And I had an epiphany before I even broke the fast. And it was that, and this is another separate video where I'll talk about, you know, the pros and cons of veganism, and why you should not do veganism because you want to be healthy, and you should not do veganism because you want to be more spiritual. Those are not things that you should do veganism for, because especially spirituality, because spirituality does not you should not determine your spirituality based on external factors. And that was something that I did, okay? And it's not cool. Because it's just like saying that you're not spiritual if you eat cooked food, and then you eat cooked food. Do you lose your spirituality? No. It is not lost because you eat cooked food, or it's not gained because you eat raw food. It's not gained because you eat vegan. It's not lost because you eat meat. It's not. Everything is everything. And I used to say that all the time as a vegan, but I never understood it in the context that I do now. Everything truly is everything, and nature consumes itself. My father left me a necklace of a snake eating its tail. And when he passed, it really, a lot of things changed for me, you know? And in a good way. I didn't experience like depression. You know, I grieved in my own way. You know what I mean? I was really close to my dad. And I just grieved in my own way. I knew it was coming. And it just was what it was, you know? That's life. You come and you go. That's the thing. So I was always thinking to myself, what does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? And I finally realized nature consumes itself. The plants are not more spiritual than the animals, and the animals are not more spiritual than the plants. The same nature that has breath in my lungs has the life force in every other thing as well. And when I realized that, it changed how I saw everything. And in one moment, I received it. Because 2 weeks from then, I really called forth wisdom to myself, to my life, because I needed it. Because I was so desperate, I was so fatigued, I was sick, you know? And in a moment, it felt like oil being poured on my head. And I received that wisdom, that everything is everything. And that I was on a high horse, and I was self-righteous because I was called narcissist. And I really had to do some digging. And I asked myself, am I a narcissist, you know? And I said, yeah, I have to be, because I feel self-righteous about being vegan. And why do I feel self-righteous about being vegan? You know, and even though I never came out and said anything against like anybody who ate meat, and I always promoted going by the measurements, in a sense of like being, you know, having a methodology to what you're doing. Don't just do something, document your process so that you know what you're doing, you know, the results that you're getting. And I was always on that path. And so I had clients that ate meat, and they, you know, pretty good. They were pretty healthy. You know, they didn't seem to be having a lot of issues, and they actually started to look better than all of my vegan clients. And so, anyways, said all that to say, I also had crazy brain fog as a vegan as well, and my speech started to slur and slow down significantly, you know? So that was something I noticed as well. And when I had that epiphany in my mind, I just said, to hell with it. I'm gonna break this vegan fast. I'm done with it. We're gonna eat some eggs to start off, because it's eggs and fish to start off, because it's the least, you know, it's like the easiest thing to go with. So I broke my vegan fast January 8th, 2020. And mind you, I'd also had my Saturn return as well. Or I was having my Saturn return as well in the 8th house of Capricorn. So my Saturn was in the 8th house of Capricorn, just for the astrologers out there. And you guys, the paranoia is real on a vegan diet, because I said to myself, am I gonna remember the fish swimming in the sea when I eat this fish, you know? But anyways, I went and got some cod. Yes, I went and got cod, not salmon. Went and got cod, and I ate it. And I remember eating it and being like, dang, this has always been good. Like, you know, it's so good. So I ate it, and I was just sitting there on the bed, and I was like, you know, before I was sleeping, I was just like, how is this gonna make me feel? And then I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna go to sleep, you know? So I went to sleep, slept like a rock at the bottom of the ocean, okay? The best sleep I'd had in 5 years. Oh my gosh. I woke up the next day like, boom, dale. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, I was in there, like, you know? And I was just like, whoa, this is a different level. I've never felt this before. And that morning I ate quail eggs, and I had like 16 eggs, because quail eggs are really small. And I ate those eggs, and I ate it, and I was just like, man. And I made sure I got like some pasture raised eggs, because I did my homework, you know. And I was like, make sure they was like, you know, organic, at least the most I could do, and pasture raised, all that stuff. And I ate those eggs, and man, I felt my spirit go boom. Like it was like something hit me like a wind, just bam. I cannot describe it. You only know it when you experience it. ¿Me entiendes? Like it was like a wind, like a warm wind just went boom over my body. And right after that, it was like a rush of warmth go into my hands and into my feet. I felt my body return to me. I remember my intuition was like, my body literally screamed at me, and it was like, we are back. You know what I'm saying? And I remember thinking to myself, we are back. Why would I think that? If I was thriving on a vegan diet, why would I think that before? You know what I'm saying? Why would I think that? And it was just like, you know what I'm saying, like just this rush of energy, like pure energy, like an instinctual energy. You do not know instinct until you are starving. You do not know instinct until you are starving. My nose, like my senses, was just like on a different high. That day, I promise you guys, I looked in the mirror and I smiled, and it looked like fangs were coming from my teeth. Like it looked like I got a little bit more aggressive, you know? And it wasn't like an aggression like I want to kill somebody or something like that. It was just like an assertiveness. It was an action, a will to do, a will to live, it was just a different feeling that I didn't have and that I was searching for, because at some point I was starving so much that I would just keep eating food and this recipe and that recipe and this, because I was searching for that taste. I was searching for that food. I was searching for that texture. I was searching for nutrition and satiation, and I wasn't getting it. And I didn't know that was what I was searching for. I just thought I was looking for new recipes. I just thought I was looking for something to do. I just thought I was looking for something else, but I was looking for nutrition. I was looking for meat. you know? So, you guys, I'm telling you, that experience is what made me know. But what really made me know, a week, maybe about, okay, yeah, 5 to 7 days went by. And I was just eating eggs and I was eating a little cod, but my body, and this is why I say you don't know instinct until you are starving, okay? My body was talking to me. Hablando, like it was talking to me. It literally was like, you need fat. You need fat from a skin of a fish. You need fat. And the only thing I could think about was salmon, the skin of salmon, you know? I went to every fresh market I could find, and I could find no wild caught salmon anywhere. It was just farm raised, and it had skin on it, but I was like, I need wild caught. I refuse to support farmed fish. I refuse to support slaughterhouses. I refuse to support people who are just treating animals any kind of way. Just because I'm eating meat again does not mean I'm going to support the BS. So I said no to that. And I was looking and looking and looking and looking, and you know who had it? Of all people, Kroger. And I was on a desperate search for some wild caught salmon, and I was in every freezer section, fresh market I could find. I couldn't find any. I went to Kroger, and I was looking at the salmon, and I saw some salmon, and I thought was wild caught. I asked the brother behind it. I said, brother, let me get some salmon, He's like, all right, how much you want? And I'm like, let me get a pound of that. And I'm like, is that wild caught? And he's like, no. And I'm like, what wild caught do you have? And he's like, the only wild caught we have is the wild caught Alaskan sockeye salmon. Little did I know, sockeye salmon is one of the highest in omega-3s. So I said, you know what? Let me get that. And when I looked over at that salmon, it was like this glowing red color, okay? And it had the skin on it, and I said, eso, that's what I need. Give me that. So I got that, right? Got to the house, I seared it, and a little, lemon, a little thyme, a little salt, a little pepper, nada más. And then I seared it, and then I just seared it so the skin could be a little crispy, just to get that little crunch, And then I baked the rest of it, just for a little while, And when I ate that salmon, I have pictures of everything, you guys. When I ate that salmon, it took about 10 minutes for me to finish that. When I ate that salmon, I sat there. Man, I want to cry tears of joy right now. I sat there, and it felt like somebody got a bucket of oil and just poured it over my brain, you guys. I cannot describe that feeling to you. It was just, I cried. I cried because I realized what that little pop in my brain was weeks ago. The fat was leaving me, I sat there as that oil. Those omega-3s are real in every sense of the way. I don't need a scientific study to tell me nada. I know that it's real, okay? I don't need a scientific study to tell me that. I know it's real. I felt that oil, and it went straight to my brain. It went straight to my brain. It felt like it didn't go anywhere else. It went to my brain first. And from there, it just poured down my face, into my arms, into my chest, my thighs, and down my legs, into my feet. I literally felt my brain say, ah, like that. And then I started to feel, I mean, I'm describing what I felt, like that see that you guys can, you know what I'm talking about? Like when you can feel something, but you can also see it. It was like my body, I felt electricity, like things were plugging in, like an operator. It felt like an operator was, you know, on the phone, like, you know, this, like, plugging into my body again. And my muscles were like jumping. Like, it felt like I was filling up. I sat there and just cried. I just cried. It was nothing. It was no feeling, no greater feeling than that right there. None. You know? And I will never forget that. I will never forget that feeling. You know? I will never forget that feeling. It literally felt like my body was just, felt like my body was just like, thank you, you know? Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for giving me what I need to survive, to thrive, actually. Not just survive, to thrive. Thank you for that, because you were surviving before. Thank you for thriving. Thank you for this. That was the only proof I needed. That was the only proof I needed, you know? And the fact that other ex-vegans said the same thing about the fish that they ate, the salmon, the omega-3s going straight to their brain, that was the part that just had me like, wow, I just could not believe that we all felt that same thing. And I literally felt it for myself. I mean, like I said, it's nothing. You can look in my eyes. There is no lie here, okay? I literally felt my body come back from the dead, literally, from being cold and, you know, almost sterile to and frail and weak, to being full of life and starting to fill back up and being warm-blooded again, you know? Like, all of that. It was just a difference, you know? And then I went and I got some from my local butcher. I went, and he has his own farm, so that was like, because I know he's a halal butcher as well, so I only eat halal and local farm butcher meat, only that, because I know what he feeds them. I know his process. I know how he takes the life. I know all of it. I have a video on it. I know it. So I went and got some ground beef. I got some ground lamb. I got some ground, and I got some goat. And I had that ground beef. I just made a patty. And this is interesting because I used to say this too, out of freaking ignorance and just repeating what other people said. I used to say, you know, if you don't salt and pepper, it's not the meat you want, it's the plants. And the plants make the meat taste good. Mentirosa. There is no such thing. You know why? Because I tried meat by itself with no flavoring. Mwah! Tastes amazing. It tastes so good. I mean, parts of my body and my salivary glands pop, you know, just all kinds of things, just jumping for joy, you know? And you know, parts of my body just, like my mouth and everything, just like jumping for pure joy when I ate it. And guys, there is a level of satiation that you cannot achieve with plant food. You just cannot do it. And that's why people eat so much. You're looking to satiate yourself. It's not because you need the calories. It's because you don't have the necessary nutrients for satiation. And I realized that. You know, just from experience. So I ate that patty, and then the next one I had a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. Because, I mean, you know, yo, we salt and pepper, okay? So a little salt, a little pepper, a little thyme, and then I just sauteed it in some tallow that I made from some bone broth that I made, and it was so delicious. It was so good. I was sitting there, and then I had a raw egg yolk on top of it. Oh my gosh, you guys. I'm being dramatic because that's how my body felt, you know? I'm actually purposing not to be so dramatic and to be more like resting face, you know? However, I'm working on it, you know? Bear with me here. However, I felt so amazing. That raw egg yolk tastes delicious. I used to think, how could you do that? And I won't lie, I had such a bad experience with food after being vegan, in the sense of like my relationship. I had a bad relationship with food after being vegan because I was scared to eat it. I was scared to eat meat because I thought parasites and all these things, you know. But I was just like, I don't give a damn about no parasites at this point. Do what you will. You know what I'm saying? At this point, I'll just cleanse you out. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna die, you know. And you'd be surprised your will to live and what you'll do when you need to live and survive. You'd be surprised, you know. So I ate that beef patty and it was so satisfying. It was so satiating. I had so much energy for hours. I didn't need to eat. The only reason why I would feel like I needed to eat was because of the habit that I created in being vegan of just eating 20 to 30 minutes after. However, I really didn't need to. I would just kind of fall into the habit of it, and then I would just be like, wait a minute, I'm not even hungry. I'm actually very satiated, you know? I noticed I didn't think about food so much. I noticed that my prep time went from hours of chopping food and preparing food to 30 minutes, if that. 10, 20 maybe, you know? And really not even that, like really 10 to 15 minutes of just making some food, just simple food. And it was just, I'm gonna make a beef patty after this, actually. I got sat here and got hungry, start just thinking about it. However, it was an experience, you guys. And it also let me see all of the damaging habits that I created on the vegan diet. Overeating. My blood sugar was so crazy. My hormones was like, you know, doing whatever they wanted, you know, like. However, like my blood sugar was so crazy, so the meat was just wonderful because I was satiated and I was stable, and I didn't have to keep running to eat every 20 to 30 minutes just because, you know, I was shaking from, you know, just like literally, I was probably like on my way out of here. And I'm just being real on that part. Like, I'm not even exaggerating anymore on that. You know, not anymore. I'm not exaggerating at all. I was probably on my way out of here, seriously. And that meat brought me back. Not back. No. It brought me back, okay? It brought me back. And, you know, I remember calling my mom and asking her, because she tried out the vegan thing for a while. And she told me, she was like, look, I'm going to be real with you. I had to start eating fish again and some lamb because, you know, I started to notice that my hair was significantly thinning, and this woman has the thickest hair I've ever seen on anybody. So, and it's mostly like straighter and a little wavier, you know, because of the Cuban mixture, you know. So, my mom is of Cuban descent, so, you know, Afro-Cuban obviously, and then Spaniard, you know, the whole mix, you know. Cuban itself is just a mixture of different ethnicities. So, that was my vegan journey in a nutshell. So yeah, the subsequent videos that I make will be what I eat now, and you know, what I learned from being vegan, pros and cons, and just some other things that I can go into more detail. I really wanted this video to be about my journey on the vegan diet, and to just warn you guys, if you see these things, do not think it's something else. You have to also consider it's what you're eating, it's your diet, you know. And let me just say, nothing against Dr. Sebi, nothing against Dr. Lila Africa. I learned so much from them both, and the messages that they brought were very necessary. I just feel like a lot of people took it out of context, and I feel like, you know, it's certain times when we need to chew the meat and spit out the bones instead of just running with everything. That's something I just wanted to come on record and make, especially with the Dr. Sebi and Dr. Lila Africa, because they also play important roles in my development, and I just wanted to always give proper credit where it's due. This is not even my cat, you guys. So that's that. If you feel great doing what you're doing, keep doing it. I mean, it's not, like I said, I'm not trying to convince you to do anything else or anything different. I'm just purposing to convey to you that it's not necessary to be healthy, and it's not necessary to be vegan to be spiritual. I would never be vegan again. I never want to be vegan again. There's no reason for me to be vegan again, ever. There's no reason to be vegan again for me, ever. You know, because I no longer associate who I am with anything outside of me. And I no longer gauge myself by external factors. You know, all of that comes from within. So I just want to say I appreciate you all, and just keep this video, because if you do start to experience some issues, then at least you can have a reference point, and at least you'll be able to have a methodology that you can use to measure yourself. So you can go to my website, johnyellmaria.com, and the link is in the description. Everything is in the description. You can go to that. You can get the book, Self-Care Regulations. It includes the 9 self-care regulations. It includes the daily analysis toolkit for you to be able to analyze your health and determine nutrient absorption from your current practice. Doesn't mean you have to eat meat, doesn't mean you have to be vegan. Whatever you do, however you do that, paleo, keto, whatever, you can measure yourself using that tool, and it's free. And the book is not, however, the tool is free. And I'm looking forward to the comment section. And like I said, if you feeling froggy and you jump in that comment section, just know that, you're gonna get 86 in that bad boy. So don't do it. Don't get disrespectful. Keep it respectful, as I did in my video, and I will continue to keep it respectful, because I have friends that are vegan, and I still respect them, and I don't see them different. I don't see them weird or odd or anything like that. So share the video with someone that it can help. Share the video with others, just to share it so that people can reconsider some things and just consider things in general. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Mwah.